it can be really challenging navigating a career. And I think you have to be patient. So things aren't just going to arrive when you finish your apprenticeship. You're not going to be the CEO. Like, it takes a lot of years and a lot of work. And it's really, really important to persevere. So when I finished my apprenticeship, I'd already done a year of work kind of in the production area. And that's where I was placed after my apprenticeship. And I felt really defeated because I already had that experience. But actually I went into a different team and I learnt new skills, and that helped me prepare into the next role as a training advisor for my team, which led me to help manage their apprentices within the interior department. And if I hadn't have done that, then I wouldn't be in HR managing all of the apprentices today. So I think definitely when one door closes, another door opens, and it's important to remember that, even though at the time it feels a bit relentless and like maybe you're not going to get to where you want to be. But I think it's taking a step back and seeing, is there a different route? And how can I get to what I want? Maybe with some help.
Having conversations about careers, I think, is something that people still find quite tricky. And I do think that this is a two-pronged attack. Some responsibility on the individual for driving their own career, for thinking about what the next step is, where they want to go, and some responsibility on the employer to make it a safe space to have those conversations, to be able to upskill their managers in confidently having conversations about development, or having tricky conversations about constructive feedback.
Probably the best way to approach a difficult conversation is preparing for it. So making sure that you're really clear on what you want to achieve and also how that benefits the organisation, because careers are all about give and take between yourself as the individual and also the organisation you're working for. So it's almost about selling yourself and making sure you understand what you want and how that adds business to the organisation you're working for. Setbacks are an opportunity. So setbacks are an opportunity to learn from it. So why didn't you get it? What did you need to do to develop yourself to be able to get given that opportunity or that career progression? So don't just finish the conversation there, continue the conversation, and then that allows you to plan what you need to do to get what you want.
There will be people who don't see the same things in you that you see in yourself. And that's a really difficult piece. And that's where you do get that, have I hit the ceiling where I am? Do I need to change firm, department, team, whatever it may be? And you have to have self-evaluation. And sometimes you have a difficult conversation and you have to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and move yourself forward again. And that self-drive that you mentioned earlier on is really important in that. But you have to always retain that confidence that you are who you are, and you've got to be true to yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you need to have a lot of self-belief. Obviously, it is very competitive who you're working with. Someone is always going to be better at you at something, and that's completely okay. It's being able to showcase your strengths and be able to have that honest conversation and say, this is why I believe that I deserve this. And the way that I would do that is probably keeping a record, being able to highlight what you've done, the experiences that you've had, and what makes you the perfect candidate for the promotion or for the pay rise or whatever it is. Because it's so important to be able to showcase why you're so great. You've been hired at this amazing firm. There is a reason that you're there. You are good enough to be where you're at and you are good enough to progress, but you need to be able to highlight that and show yourself off a little bit. So it's all about that self-belief and self-motivation to know that you are good enough. You just need to get there, and you need to work hard to be able to get there.
Like at work, for example, if you go for a job, this project manager job, for example, you went for the interview and you didn't get it. It doesn't matter. At least you went for the interview and you've planted that seed. Maybe it's there for next time. At least they know that you've gone for it. Speak to people. Maybe you want to be work on site as a site commissioner. You might not get it within the next 2 months. At least they know that you're interested in that.
I think a lot of it is dependent on your relationship with your manager, and I think building a good relationship with your manager early doors is such an important thing. I think I've done that quite early, and I've kind of built a good relationship with him where it's easy to talk about things, ask questions. He's always told us that if you've ever got any questions, the door's always open, which has always been nice. So talking about them kind of career promotions in the in the business has always been kind of easy. I think I'm now in my second year of my apprenticeship, so it will be a thing where we're starting to talk about what happens after the apprenticeship, where we're going to go, like money expectations, like where you want to be and what you want to do after the apprenticeship if you want to learn a little bit more, go into a managerial side. And I think with our manager, it's always been just a conversation, which is good. So it's never been a thing where we need to get loads of people involved. It needs to be written down and everything like that. It's just question and answer really, and it's always been quite good. I think setbacks, we've had a few. You know, you don't always get everything you ask for. But again, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's just one of the things. You have to be ready to kind of take one step back and almost take 2 steps forwards after that. You know.
So pay promotion. First of all, don't expect a big promotion, a pay rise in the first 6 months you join. So be very mindful of the journey that you go on. You're at the beginning of your career, so be very mindful of that. Yes, you want to progress. You want to move on in your organisation, but give it a bit of time. You got to put your effort in first of all, and you're going to get feedback on stuff that you've done that you haven't done so well. So be open to that, and be open to be able to move on and go, right, well, what can I take from that and learn and take that into the next project that I do or the next piece of work that I do. So it comes back to being that kind of open mindset of, willing to learn and willing to develop.
Well, failures are part and parcel. I've always thought that failures, you learn a lot more from failing in things than you do actually succeeding. So obviously you learn from where you've gone wrong and you can bounce off that and make your options better the second time.
When I started my journey in Harrods, it was on the apprenticeship programme, as we know, and it was on the shop floor. And towards the end of my career on the shop floor, I had some very good clients and was earning commission at the time, which was always great. But I realised it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. I wanted to take a step away from retail, if that makes sense, even though Harrods is a retailer. But I noticed that, to be able to take a step away from that, I'm going to have to take a pay cut. But I need it to navigate me into a career of where I want to grow and develop. So I took a job within private shopping, managing, at the time it was an assistant level, which we do all the lifestyle requests for our private clients. So that can be anything from sourcing products that's not sold in Harrods, but a lot of travel and tickets and things like that. But obviously started at a very junior level and took a pay cut for it, and obviously wasn't earning commission, but it felt like that was the right time to do it. I could do it, I was young at the time. And it also felt like a career path and something that I was passionate and enthusiastic about. And 6 years into that, I'm managing the service. The service has grown massively.
There's a book called The Talent Code, which basically talks about talent being nurtured. And a big part of that is actually making mistakes. And they're the things that formulate how we learn and that kind of deep practice and how we come back stronger. And so I think everybody fails at stuff, and actually it's the failure in things that helps us improve and helps us get better and come back stronger. So I think it's really easy to find failure and making mistakes as a knock on confidence, but I think in your early career you're bound to make mistakes because you've not got that experience. So I think in terms of, again, how we take mistakes, it's how you frame it personally. You can either let it get you down or you can see it as a way for you improving. So I think that would be the way to approach that side. So I think in terms of having conversations with your employer about pay and promotions, it's how you frame the conversation. So if I had an employee come up to me and say, how do I progress? How do I progress in this sector? How do I get better? How do I become the CEO? I'd be thinking, come on, we've got this young person that's going to take on the world. They're not sitting back. They want to get better. They want to improve. It's only considered as a good thing. So I think having those conversations is really important. And you're absolutely within your rights to say, and how does that promotion, how does that look from a financial perspective? What are the LTIPs, the long-term incentive plans? What's going to keep me in the business? Because I want to stay here. I want a promotion, and I want to make some money because I want to be able to pay for things in life. So again, it's that you can come at that conversation quite arrogantly, can't you? You can say, when am I getting paid, and how do I make more money? Or you can come at it from I really want to grow, and with growth comes promotion, and with promotion clearly becomes a kind of financial package that sits alongside that. Could you explain to me what that might look like for me? So everybody has those conversations, just don't be afraid to have it, because it's happening all the time. It's just how you broker the conversation.
When you're someone in your early stage of your career, it's really hard to know what's right and what's wrong when it comes to talking about pay or promotions or career development. And I think the true answer is there's no real right or wrong way of doing things. Again, it depends on you as a person, the organization you're in, what opportunities might be available at the time. But I think that, again, being really open and honest about the types of conversations you want to have with your manager, with the organization, with your HR team is really important, because, again, sometimes it's hard to help people who don't know what they want, if that makes sense. So I think that just being able to be really open and honest and not being afraid to not know the right answers. I think even people who are later on in their careers or quite experienced professionals still face that every time they work in a new organizational role or environment. So actually just being open about what you don't know, seeking out those people that can help you, whether that's your manager or HR, and being also open-minded about things. I think in the early stages of my own career, I had a very fixed view of what career development looked like. So whether it was the opportunities that I wanted to take or whether it was the types of tasks that I wanted to do, I had a very fixed view of what that could look like. And then actually when you're in the workplace or when you're moving around the organization and doing different things, meeting new people, you end up realizing there's a whole scope of opportunity out there that you don't even realize is possible, whether it's from a development perspective, whether it's a talent program, whether it's an apprenticeship or, a sort of an internal secondment. There's so much out there. So again, just having that conversation really open and honestly, but also when it comes to then not getting the right answer that you wanted, perhaps, just taking it into perspective and realizing that, again, you can control so much, but some of it is out of your control as well. So just almost rolling with it, being open-minded, and also not letting that knock you back, and just being positive about your own ambition. You'll get there.